was the summer of 1969, a year that had already seen its fair share of tumultuous events. The Vietnam War raged on, civil rights marches echoed through the streets, and the counterculture movement was in full swing. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty, there was a glimmer of hope, a moment that would unite the nation and captivate the world's imagination. On July 20th, 1969, the United States achieved the unthinkable, landing 2 astronauts on the moon. The Apollo 11 mission was a triumph of human ingenuity and determination, a testament to what could be achieved when people set their minds to a seemingly impossible goal. The dream of landing on the moon had been brewing in the minds of scientists, engineers, and visionaries for decades. It was a dream that began to take shape in the early 1960s when President John F. Kennedy made a bold proclamation. On May 25, 1961, he stood before a joint session of Congress and declared, "I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth." Kennedy's words were a rallying cry for the nation, a call to action that set in motion a series of events that would lead to one of the greatest achievements in human history. It was a challenge that seemed insurmountable at the time. The technology to reach the moon had not yet been developed, and the risks were immense. But the United States was determined to rise to the occasion. The race to the moon was on, and the United States was in a fierce competition with the Soviet Union. The Soviets had already achieved several significant milestones in space exploration, including launching the first artificial satellite, Sputnik, in 1957, and sending the first human, Yuri Gagarin, into space in 1961. These early Soviet successes had caught the attention of the world and raised concerns in the United States about falling behind in the space race. The Apollo program was born out of this competition, with a series of missions aimed at gradually advancing the capabilities needed to land on the moon. Apollo 1, the first manned mission in the program, tragically ended in disaster when a cabin fire during a pre-launch test killed all 3 astronauts on board. The setback was a stark reminder of the risks and challenges of space exploration, but it only strengthened the resolve of those involved in the program. In December 1968, the Apollo program took a major step forward with the launch of Apollo 8. This mission, commanded by Frank Borman, featured a daring maneuver that had never been attempted before: going into orbit around the moon. As the spacecraft entered lunar orbit, the crew of Apollo 8 became the first humans to see the far side of the moon, a sight that had never before been witnessed by human eyes. The crew of Apollo 8, which also included astronauts Jim Lovell and Bill Anders, captured stunning photographs of the moon's surface and read passages from the Book of Genesis during a live broadcast on Christmas Eve. Their message of hope and unity resonated with people around the world, and it was a reminder that, despite the challenges and conflicts of the era, humanity had the potential for greatness. Apollo 8's success paved the way for the ambitious goal of landing on the moon. The next mission, Apollo 9, tested the lunar module in Earth orbit, while Apollo 10 carried out a dress rehearsal of the moon landing, coming within just miles of the lunar surface before returning safely to Earth. These missions were crucial in building the confidence and expertise needed for the final push to the moon. Apollo 11 was the culmination of years of planning, preparation, and hard work. The crew consisted of 3 astronauts: Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Armstrong and Aldrin would descend to the lunar surface, while Collins would remain in lunar orbit aboard the command module. The tension and anticipation leading up to the launch of Apollo 11 were palpable. Millions of people around the world tuned in to watch the historic event, and as the Saturn V rocket roared to life on July 16, 1969, it felt as though the hopes and dreams of an entire nation were riding on that fiery plume of exhaust. The journey to the moon took 4 days, and on July 19th, Apollo 11 entered lunar orbit. As Armstrong and Aldrin prepared to descend to the surface, they faced a series of challenges and uncertainties. The lunar module, named Eagle, had to navigate a precise and perilous descent to a landing site known as the Sea of Tranquility. The tension in the mission control room at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston was palpable as flight controllers monitored every detail of the descent. When a computer alarm sounded, indicating that the lunar module was steering toward a rocky area, Armstrong took manual control and guided the spacecraft to a safer landing site with just seconds of fuel to spare. Finally, at 2017 Coordinated Universal Time, on July 20, 1969, the world held its breath as the lunar module touched down on the moon's surface. Neil Armstrong's voice crackled over the radio. "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." After a few hours of rest, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin prepared to step out onto the lunar surface. The entire world watched and waited as Armstrong descended the ladder and set foot on the moon, uttering the famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Buzz Aldrin joined him moments later, and together they conducted experiments, collected samples, and took photographs. The significance of their achievement was not lost on them, and they spoke of their sense of awe and wonder at the desolate beauty of the lunar landscape. Back on Earth, people celebrated with a sense of unity and pride. The moon landing transcended politics and divisions, reminding us all of our shared humanity and the boundless possibilities of human exploration and discovery. The journey back to Earth was not without its challenges. The lunar module had to rendezvous with the command module, piloted by Michael Collins, in lunar orbit. Once reunited, the crew began the long journey home. On July 24, 1969, Apollo 11 splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, safely returning its crew to Earth. The astronauts were hailed as heroes, and their achievement was celebrated around the world. They had not only fulfilled President Kennedy's vision, but had also shown what humanity could accomplish when it set its sights on the stars. The moon landing was a defining moment in history, a testament to the power of human determination and ingenuity. It captured the imagination of a generation and left an indelible mark on our collective consciousness, but its impact extended far beyond that historic day in 1969. The Apollo program inspired a new generation of scientists, engineers, and dreamers. It led to advancements in technology, science, and exploration that continue to shape our world today. The spirit of Apollo lives on in the International Space Station, the Mars rovers, and the countless missions that continue to push the boundaries of human knowledge and discovery. It serves as a reminder that when we come together and set our sights on a common goal, there is no limit to what we can achieve. In the words of Neil Armstrong as he looked out at the desolate lunar landscape, "It suddenly struck me that that tiny pea, pretty and blue, was the Earth. I put up my thumb and shut one eye, and my thumb blotted out the planet Earth. I didn't feel like a giant, I felt very, very small." The moon landing was not just a giant leap for mankind, it was a humbling reminder of our place in the cosmos and a call to explore the unknown. It was a moment that brought the world together and inspired us all to reach for the stars. And so, as we look back on that historic day in 1969, let us not only celebrate the achievement of landing on the moon, but also take inspiration from it. Let us remember that the impossible is possible, that dreams can become reality, and that the human spirit is capable of achieving greatness beyond our wildest imaginations. And so, as we continue to explore the cosmos and push the boundaries of human knowledge, let us never forget that historic day in 1969 when we took that first bold step onto the lunar surface. It was a day that changed the course of history and reminded us all that, together, we can achieve the impossible. In the words of Buzz Aldrin, as he stood on the moon's surface, "This has been far more than 3 men on a mission to the moon, more still than the efforts of a government and industry team, more even than the efforts of one nation." We feel that this stands as a symbol of the insatiable curiosity of all mankind to explore the unknown. If you liked this video, like and subscribe for more.